Hi, I'm Mary Gunn. Welcome to Fun University. Hello, I'm Mary Gunn of Mary Gunn Fun, founder and head professor of Fun University. Welcome to Fundamentals, a very, very basic introduction to the color wheel. Very, very basic. But we're going to go for it. Let's go down to the paper cam and see what we can get out of this head of mine. All right, we have a basic color wheel right here. I suggest that everybody that wants to do stamping and things like that have one. I really do. I think it just gives you a lot of power on deciding what colors are going to learn how to get colors that look good together, understanding how they work. This one in particular has information on it, and it's just easy to follow, and I think you can get quite a good understanding of how this works just by reading the little instructions and tutorials on the wheel. Basically, we're going to just go, this has 12 colors. Most of them are mixes, but there are 3 primary colors. Primary color means a color that cannot be made by adding 2 other colors. They are red, yellow, and blue. Then they have these little columns, and these columns refer to a pure red color or a pure color, adding some white, which is a tint, making a tone, which is adding some gray, and here is a shade where you add some black. So those are all in the family of red, however. Now these colors that are in between these primary colors, red and orange, if you mix red and yellow together, you get a secondary color called orange. Orange does not appear naturally. You have to make it. You have to add a red and a yellow. If you add red and more red than yellow, you get a red orange. If you add more yellow than red, you get a yellow orange. And so it goes around the wheel. Then we can go back on over to yellow, to the primary colors yellow and blue. When you add blue and yellow, you get green. It's a secondary color. If you add more yellow than blue, you get yellow-green, which is a tertiary color. Same rules apply. There's the pure color of yellow-green. There's a tint where you add white. There's a tone where you add gray, and there's a shade when you add black. These are all yellow-green. If you add more blue than yellow, you'll get a beautiful blue-green, which is one of my favorites. All right, moving around, we're going to see what happens when we put yellow or blue and red together. This is a real fun thing to do with kids and frosting, by the way. Blue is a primary, cannot be made by adding 2 colors together. Red is a primary, cannot be made by adding 2 colors together. However, violet is a secondary color, and if you add equal parts of blue and red, you should get violet. If you add a little more blue, you'll get blue-violet. If you add a little more red than blue, you'll get red-violet. Now, we have in the lounge, well, maybe you can put it somewhere else sometime, but I made a chart. I don't have a printer, so I had to write my chart. But I made a chart of all these colors, like blue-violet, blue-violet tint, blue-violet tone, blue-violet shade. And then I sought after finding out what the colors of ink that I have compared to the color wheel. And that's where Patty and I had quite a conversation about it, but it's good. I really loved it. So I looked at red, and if I looked at all these colors on the color wheel, well, it was obviously a red color, this candy apple. So then I looked at the column of the reds, and I went, it is closest to a pure color. So I just went R, pure color, red, pure color. The really good thing about these colors, the tertiary and the primary and the secondary colors, none of them start with the same letter. So you can just put R or Y for yellow, or B for blue, or BV for blue-violet. It's very handy. So that's how I decided this was red pure color. Then I looked at green. I knew it wasn't a yellow green. This is definitely, if I looked at this, I went, that's a blue-green. But it's not one of these blue-greens. So I looked at just the green column. There's not an exact match. That's okay. If you look at a paint aisle, there are a lot of colors, are there not? And they're not going to all be on the color wheel. So you have to remember that these kind of colors are all made by drops of, and for ink and things, and paint and paper are all made by pigment, which is the color, filler, and binder. So those are the things that are going to affect the color. So maybe they put I made a really dark green with a lot more black in it. I'm not really sure how they make it, but I went ahead and chose it in the green column with black added, which is the shade, and just wrote green shade. Yep, like a Copic thing, exactly. Then I got out a clover, and that was pretty close to a pure color green. So I went ahead and wrote green pure color. Is this helping? Okay, let's look at a color I haven't done yet. And then I also put company, because it's a different, everybody's got these cutesy names and things for colors, but if you recognize them as the colors on this wheel, you'll be able to use them more easily in your projects. This is a pretty color from Distress Inks called Mermaid Lagoon. Now, okay, this is a great example of it doesn't fit on this wheel. It isn't blue violet. You can see that. It isn't really blue. It has a little green cast to it. It's going to be one of those things that you're going to be wanting to look at undertones. Oh, good, Patty, I'm glad. You're going to be looking at undertones. Does it have, and when I say undertones, I'm talking about the primary undertones. Is it a blue undertone? Is it a yellow undertone, or I hid the other one? Or is it a red undertone? We were having issues with, purple's a great, any secondary color will help you spend a little time with secondary and tertiary colors, and you'll be able to go, is that a red undertone, or is that a blue undertone, such as this color by Ranger, Wilted Violet. Okay, these are kind of tricky, honestly, the purples and the violets. This one to me has a redder undertone, then it has a bluer undertone. Do you see that? It doesn't look right with that blue, does it? And it does okay with violet, but then the violet still looks a little bit, it still looks a little redder than blue to me, but maybe it would fit in to this little category right in here. It's really hard. It's really hard. So I would, for something like this, because remember the paint aisle, it's really hard to get those paint colors on 12 colors that have 4 options. What is that? That's like 12 times 4 is 62. So 60, there's a lot more paint colors than that. So this is one of those little colors that's not going to match up exactly on the color wheel, so you get to decide where it's going to fit in more. It's not bad either way. It's not going to be a big deal. There might be a trick that you can do to help you, because sometimes when you put the ink out on the paper, you might be able to see the undertones more than on a printed thing. I'm making that up as I go, but I think it might be true. I'm still not seeing it exactly. I think it could go with a violet with this, pretty much. It's somewhere right here on this little column between the violet and the red violet. But remember, these are mixed colors. So this is a mixed color. So it's going to be hard to pinpoint it. Don't worry about it. Just get it close. And then as far as, because you don't have to know exactly what it is, honestly. You're still going to be able to figure out what's going to go with it. Just by that much knowledge, you're going to be able to make some decisions, do some tests, do some swatching, see if you like colors together. If you don't like colors together, then refer to this and go, what could I go to? Could I go a little bit to the yellow side? Could I go a little bit to the red side? Start playing around with those options, and maybe you'll find a better combination. Okay, back to this blue. This blue has a definite blue-green cast to it, but it doesn't match either, and that's okay. I would say it's definitely more blue-green than blue, and more blue-green than blue-violet, and more blue-green than green. So sometimes you just have to go, it's more this than that. Okay? Maybe it needs a little toning down. Maybe it needs a little kicking up. Couple of things to remember. We talked about, did we talk about this? These colors, as long as you're 3 in a row, we talked about an analogous on the December Cards Plus Week 2 analogous colors. You can blend all these together, and if they cross over each other, they won't make mud. That's an important principle to know. It'll make just a whole another color. Now, if you're really bored someday, you can swatch out colors like that and do that over each other and get new colors, and then make little notes on that. That's a whole nother fun thing to do. So, all right, that's what we got going on there. Let's see about this one. This one's really going to throw us off the edge because it doesn't really, I think. This one has some real crazy colors going on in it. I don't even know. It's called Cracked Pistachio, and it's not yellow-green. It's not blue-green. It's going to be right there on that line between the green and the blue-green. So we can't really pinpoint it. I know we want to, but we really can't. This red looks pretty much, the candied apple looks pretty much like the Close to My Heart red. Let's compare them on some paper. That's the, what is that? Candied apple. This one's candy apple too. Oh, that's candied. This is present tense candy apple. So there we have two colors. They are not the same. If we were looking on the color wheel, we could say that the candied apple is more of a pure red, and the candy apple is more of a shade, a red shade. It may or may not help, but you're getting to get to understand it. All right? Okay. We're going to get into more color combinations this week on Cards Plus, and if this is helpful, we can always do more classes on it so that it can make more sense. One thing I did notice, a lot of colors in the Close to My Heart range, I had multiple colors that would fit within a category. Like I had pure orange, and honestly, pure orange went as far as from tangerine to gold rush. Completely different colors if you think of them as independent. But if you looked on the color chart with those two, remarkably similar. If we swatch them out, here's orange. There's gold rush, an ancient color. And the gold rush looks more like an orange shade. And an orange, the tangerine looks more like the orange pure color. So even if this didn't look really like the shade, it looked more like the orange, but now I can see it looks more like the shade. So it does have some interesting reasons for those things, and it will cause different combinations to look better than others. But that's just, I think that'll give you a good start. You can start playing with it. Remember, there's going to be colors between all of these colors and between these colors too. All of them. You can't get every color on a color chart. I bet it would be impossible. Because, well, it just couldn't be that big. And every time you add one little iota of one hue, it's going to change the color. Color is cool that way. Enjoy it. Have fun with it. Don't let it scare you. It's not scary. Just make it, and you don't have to be perfect. As long as you have a little bit more understanding and it makes you have a better experience with your craft, enjoy it. Go for it. Don't worry about it. Okay? All right. Well, that's all for tonight, and we'll go back to just having some fun tonight. Let me know if you have any questions. Bye-bye.